It's your girl Melrose, chilling here in sunny California, putting something in the air. I gotta have something to talk about, right? A beginning, a middle, and an end. So let's talk about relationships and social media real quick. The bottom line is this: everyone has their own worldview because the scope in which their world exists is completely different than yours, mine, and the other. But that doesn't mean we can't exist. That's why I don't like it when people talk about Sexy Red, Cardi B, our president. Isn't he is what he is, right? People are who they are. Just because people are who they are and they have a preference or they have a certain desire for certain things doesn't mean we should infringe those things upon society and say that is the actual truth and final construct. What I notice that's missing is love in relationships, friendships, family, music, everything. A lot of my perspective comes from Christ. A lot of my perspective comes from the Bible and the Holy Spirit, as well as my worldview. I can't sit up here and say, hey, I haven't sinned today. Sinning now. But I do have forgiveness and mercy, and they're new every day. The morning is new every day. So it doesn't really matter what you've been through, what you're going through, how you got through it. That's really between you and God because you leave the way you came. Yeah, you were born with a twin, maybe a triplet, maybe a lot of siblings, maybe a lot of family or none at all, but takes precedence of what I just said. You die alone till you're accountable. I myself make mistakes. Sometimes I talk too much or I make emotional decisions. And then I just saw this post on Instagram. I had another Instagram I had since like 2010, 11. And then another one I made in like 2015 or 14. And someone was able to take those from me, take those down. So I have a new one up. But I was just, on there doing the Instagram thing. And he's like, man, yo, you got to be successful. Yo, stop being so emotional. And that just doesn't mean monetary. That means with your family, people. You're not fighting just against people or the machine or the white man or nothing like that. You're fighting against a spiritual thing. A lot of racism could be swiped away if we listen to Donald Trump and the way economics work and put more work into America and not abroad. I like my racism where I could see it. Racism is not just about you being ugly or looking a certain way. It's really about what you can do. It's really the fear. It's not just hate. It's the opposite of love. It's fear of you creating your own soaps, you creating your own business. That is what the hate stems from, the fear. Now, fear is an emotion, which is weak. That's why we have so much love and power in love. I know a powerful man um, outside of the Lord, which was my grandfather, who was like a father. And he always talked about being nice. I don't really like being nice. Nice for what? But I get what he was saying. As I get older, I say it as being kind. Because nice makes you stupid and naive. Kind means that you're loving, gentle, you're peaceful, you're there. Long suffering and all that. And these are pillars I'm working on myself. I just know that in order to be successful, like James Reed, and have successful children and grandchildren and so on and so forth, he was able to provide for all generations and for himself and leave things behind. And he never yelled at us. He didn't have a very strong voice, very soft-spoken guy. But he demanded his power and love because he loved us. So how could you not respect him? How could you not love him? And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about somebody that I actually fell in love with. And, you know, I kind of get scared sometimes because some of his behaviors remind me of the players that I've dealt with in the past. And I know that sometimes people, you know, come from situations where they've been hurt too. So it's not just one-sided in any situation. Like my grandfather would say, quote, no matter how thin a pancake is, there's two sides. Quote, James Reed, in quotation, so to speak. I just want to tell you, in the way Janet Jackson said in that movie, love each other. Love each other, because it ain't nothing out there. Why are you trying to get this off and do that and do this? That might be good for the ego or the flesh, but in the spirit realm, you're losing, you're taking away your energy and your power and love. When you deal with low vibrations and you go back and forth with people and, you know, trying to have the last word, so to speak. So all I'm saying is love. There's a message in love. And we need to bring love back for ourselves. If we loved ourselves, we wouldn't be talking to people the way that we do. We wouldn't be responding the way we do. We wouldn't be eating the way we do. We wouldn't be, you know, having these relationships. That's what I was gonna say. These relationships about what your boyfriend do or your man do don't even matter because you still single. You don't got a ring on your finger from a husband or wife. You are single. Okay? So it don't matter if this person cheats. It don't matter if you get an STD. It don't matter if you get pregnant because what's done in the dark comes to light. The bottom line is, in order to have a successful relationship and have a powerful, sustaining relationship, is to be one in Christ. It's two of you and it's one God and the Holy Spirit and the Trinity. God is omniscient, omniscient, omniscient. All those things that we could never be. He's in rooms that you're not capable of being in. The very hairs of your hair are numbered. The gray ones, the cut ones, all that. So at some point, as a human, you have to take accountability for what you hear and what you believe because you will, before you die, hear the gospel of Christ. And Billy Graham would tell you, anybody would tell you who know history or any philosopher, scholar in the realm and the scope of understanding AD, BC would tell you biblically that Christ is not what America depicts him as. It's blue-eyed and all that, so that doesn't even matter. What matters is what's in your heart. It doesn't matter what people say on social media. It doesn't matter what your worldview says. What matters is the Christ view. Long-suffering, patience, kindness, understanding, kind, love. Like that Kirk Franklin song. Love is a word that comes and goes, but how many people know what it really means to love somebody? Oh, love, what it really means to be patient, love, kind, love, patient, love, kind, love. You know, those sorts of things matter. So this is a message to myself and to others to maybe go into nature and enjoy it, the fresh air, by water, by trees, by the park and the grass. And to have surrender and submit all your troubles unto God and all your blessings as well. Continuously praying you cover your vehicle and your home in the blood, pleading the blood. And when you clean out one demon, when you change, 7 more come. You know? It's just like when you think you got rid of rodents and then you find out that you have a whole problem hidden in plain sight. If you ever own property or anything like that, you understand how that can be. So you have to really navigate that situation properly so you don't have further issues and further pests and issues with your tenants and things like that. I personally haven't had tenants, but I do a lot of different things, so I understand how the system works in group homes and shelters and, you know, private owned homes and things of that nature. So, and I also, you know, do a lot of things for the elderly. I try to help when I can. I try to help the kids. I try to help the special needs. I do all I can. And, you know, at some point in life, you get to a burnout. I reached my burnout a little early because I do want to retire early. So I'm just at a pivotal moment in my life where need to focus and putting myself in position and making sure I obtain those 000s and being successful and leaving a legacy, because we just don't know what can happen, when that can happen, or how. We don't know who's watching, when they're watching, how they're watching, or why they're watching, and what they can do. You know, one minute you're alive, next minute you're found in a jacuzzi or a hot tub, or in an accident, or a plane crash, or shot up, or, you know, all of a sudden you natural causes in your 30s or 40s of death. You know, you just never know who you might piss off. So, you know, you got to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. I'm not saying you don't know what the bad guys know. You just don't do what they do. And that goes back to love. That doesn't mean you don't have a discipline and know how to protect yourself and your family. That just means you're not out there causing ruckus and doing bad things to harm yourself and other people in the community. Love is being a leader. Love is being authentic. Love is being patient. Love is long suffering through thick sickness and health, through thickness and thin. That's what love is. And everybody wants everything fast. Like I always say, there's a microwave woman, an oven woman, and a woman that uses a stove. And, you know, if you cook on a grill and you do that, that's one thing. But I'm talking about a woman that cuts her onions up. She doesn't just have to go get pre-cut pico de gallo. She knows how to make that from the knife to the blender, you know, store it freshly, you know, clean the carne asada, the pollo, the chicken, you know, knows how to keep the beer cool, the cerveza. You know, there's levels to it versus someone that just wants a single shot and wants to get tacos from Del Taco. You know, to each their own, but I'm just saying there's levels to this. Like, you know, we'll have that discussion later, but, you know, it really is not about, you know, if you take this color pill, that color pill, if you're a hoe, if you're not a hoe, if you come from this type of way or this type of way, is you're right, you're wrong. Because at the end of the day, God can only judge you. You know, like Tupac say, only God can judge me now. Like, who is anybody to judge? Now, I used to think you weren't supposed to judge at all, but God says judge righteously. So if you're going to judge, make sure you're doing it right. When you talk to somebody, you pray for them, you make sure they're okay, and then you send them on their way. It's not for you to say what they need to be doing or not doing. That's something God will work on their heart with in due time. That's how that works. And there's principles behind this. And yes, I stand on what I say biblically, formally educated, and informally, meaning I've done a lot of studying and research on my own, as well as through my university, which is Liberty University, as well as other universities and JCs I've attended throughout my life. My mom would call that a career student. However, I just call that someone who seeks knowledge, who desires truth and success in their own time, in their own right. When God feels I'm able to handle my vision and my purpose and get my mind right. I don't think nothing's wrong with my mind at this time. I just got to check my emotions and myself and my mind and upgrade my existence and how I stand as a woman, a young woman, as a daughter, as a mother, as a leader, as a businesswoman, as a woman, someone's woman or not. You know, I don't know how that's going to go in a week or so. But it was all good just a week ago in the Jay-Z voice. You feel me? But yeah, you know, I'm a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll, hip hop. You know, I'm a little bit of everything. I'm me, and you don't gotta like it or not. It is what it is. But we'll get into it. It's just, you know, just don't fall for the hype of all this feedback about what man and woman should do, when truly everything you need is inside of you already. You know what to do. It's just like first time parents or someone that takes on parenting, or when you work with kids for the first time, you have a natural inclination and common sense on what's right or what's wrong. You don't need to be hateful toward one group of women based on the color of their skin or their hair or any of that because you had a few bad experiences. That's just not right. And I see that a lot in my own community. And, you know, it's already hard when you have to show up to other communities because they have this whole picture of how society paints us as all turned up or, you know, lie, cheat, steal, or whatever. However society makes us look, that's what they believe because people don't question anything. So, you know, we have to go out of that scope sometimes and present ourselves as leaders and as pillars of Christ and show people what love really is. And in order to do that, you have to, be strong and be firm. You have to be fair, but, you be kind. You don't have to give people vinegar necessarily, harmless as wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. Again, you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar. And a lot of times people take my name like Honey this or Melrose. Well, my name really has some meaning to that, but I feel like I'm not in that stance where I feel like sharing that. Like, it's not about me. This is just my message from the heart. Saying that, we all make mistakes, and it is honorable to forgive someone else so that you can be forgiven, because you will be making those mistakes too. Maybe not what they did, but you're going to make a different kind of mistake. You might do a hit and run. You might freaking drink and drive. You might cuss. You might fornicate. You might smoke, drink. I don't know. Your sin is your sin. That's between you and God. But all you can do is let people be authentic and have their preference in life, and start there. So all this debacle about who looks better, who's this or who's that, is just an agenda to keep you distracted from what really matters, which is love and unification. When you look at different cultures, one thing you will notice that when you're unified and love each other, there's nothing that you can't get through. There's nothing that you can't get through because you understand and you truly love. That doesn't mean it's easy. That doesn't mean you don't cry. It doesn't mean you don't fight. There's a time to cry. There's a time to pray. There's a time to dance. There's a time to laugh. There's a time to sing. There's a time for everything. There's a time to be a young woman. There's a time to be a woman. There's a time to be a middle-aged woman, a senior woman, and no más. No me gusta. No more. So, life is nothing but a vapor for all of us. But if we believe, we'll be back here in no time. What's 10 days on earth is 1,000 in heaven, and what's 1,000 days in heaven is 2 days on earth. But God is trying to give everybody a chance to say, if you want to be a part of my tribe, you got to do things my way, or you get what the world gets. And in that world, there's an end. There's an absolute end. There will be hell and brimstone. There will be lights and fury. Not the Donald Trump kind, but the internal kind. Okay, there's billions of people on the earth, and I'm told there's only less than 200,000 that's getting into heaven, you guys. You got to think about that. We don't even know that many people getting into heaven. If we know every seventh person, that seventh person's going to hell. Or that seventh person, that one might go to heaven. Out of that seven. So all the other six, bye. So it is completely up to you to use your discernment, which is your spirit, to do what you have to do and push through. Whether it be education, helping out at home, paying an extra bill, saving some money, staying at home sometimes, making your own food, working out, walking, caring about the time you do. Because a lot of times we're put in position to do things that have nothing to do with our dreams or what it is our potential really is. And me, I get tired because I'm an expert at what I do, which is work with special education children. I have such a lucrative background. I can go anywhere in the world and know that I can work with children or special need adults, all of it. And, I paid the cost to be the boss, but now I need to go higher and get my credentials. If you're going to have my time, I need to get paid for it. But if they want to give me the money, then I need to show them the honey then, right? And not the vinegar. I don't have no excuse. It's time to step it up. It's levels to it. There's growing pains. People got good problems out here. If you got freaking bills and a place to live and you're able to do for yourself or someone's able to help you out, why not be optimistic? There's people that's begging to get into shelters with families. There's people living in their cars going to Hopix in Los Angeles, going to Solutions and going to Prototypes and all these different places, and the Union Rescue Mission. It's cold out here, you know? You cold, mom and dad don't let you cut the heater on? All right, fuck it. Go give them an extra 25 and go get your little plug-in mini heater. You think you need more than that, then you need to go and get your own place. I dare you to try. I dare you to try. It's not even worth it. It's better to unify. Everybody think they so much more important than the other because they did this or they got that. That person may not just be skilled in what you're skilled in. Why not say, hey, you know what? I do make this much, but this is how I did this. Instead of just looking at people in their face, wondering why they don't have anything or why they should. That's not really your business. People should mind their business and love everybody. And that's how I talk to people's kids. If I ever taught someone's kid, this is how I talk to your kids. Mind your business and love everybody. Don't be tattletelling because that make me think that you're doing something. When someone's trying to solve a crime, I'd be like, well, it sounds like you know a lot about this. Intrinsically speaking, you know. I've had a lot of time to think about what I say before I say it, and a lot of times I don't. But it's always authentic. But I leave you with this. God is love, and He's a forgiving God every day, and He take you as you are. You don't have to change how you look, how you live, what you do. You just accept Him in your heart and say, God, work on my heart, work on my mind. Because those two things is what keeps the heart and the brain flowing. That's what keeps you thriving. That's what makes you get out of bed. That's what makes you drive safe. And not just say, fuck it, forget everybody and just crash through the lights like some people do because their feelings are hurt. Sometimes you got to take a step back, just breathe, go in nature, go play with your dog, go play with your kids, go play with the neighbor kids and the dogs. Just go for a ride to the beach or the park, play some music. Do you. But always remember before you go checking other people, check you first. Don't look at the speck in your brother's eye without looking at the plank in your own eye. We need to be more observant of who we are as people because that's what really matters. When we die, it's not what this person did, that person did over me. It's what you did. What's your legacy? What are you leaving behind? A lot of people can say what they want about me, but I kept my respect for myself and others. And I kept my boundaries strong because I can't take it. No more. Don't play in my face. Don't piss in my face and tell me it's raining, as Lauren Brown Bennett would say. Don't do that. So, there's going to be a lot of touches around this mofo because there's a new sheriff in town. And I'm done not taking care of my fitness and not eating properly. I don't really want fast food anymore. I'm done with that pandemic crap. Kind of lingered. I figured that I do like working from home more than going into the office. People kind of be more concerned about me more than my expertise. I'll show up and they say someone's nonverbal, and then all of a sudden they're telling me all the alphabet, the numbers, and they're counting. So that just lets me know that you're not doing your job. Especially if you say you worked with these kids for years or these adults. It's just mind-boggling how they slip through the cracks and everybody just wants to get paid so much money to say they have this position or that position, and they do the bare minimum. So if you can't afford to take the time to be with your kids or get them the proper care, it's very important because they are the future. And there's ways around things. If you are with your spouse and you're not married and you guys cohabitate, then you don't need to be putting both your incomes on there. You're not freaking married. You are single. You need to use your income only and take care of the resources so that you can have more income for gas and trips and diapers, new clothes, shoes, skincare products, hair products, rent, utilities, mortgage, whatever have you. So, you guys need to be smart when you're out here. I'm not saying do that because I'm all for not cohabitating before marriage, but if you're not cohabitating, you happen to have children, take care of the resources as well. But I gotta go. One love.